Welcome back to Mini and Mighty Adventures, and this is part 12 of the Classical Dollhouse Project. Today we are back on the house exterior, and this time it's the house doors. I did put a pin in this after completing the exterior walls, and it's now time to take the pin out. The doors were the same as the exterior of the house walls, so it was just they painted in like a light grey colour. The windows and the pediments, yes, I did Google to find the correct name for the triangle bits above the windows, as I've been referring to them as. But the windows and the pediments are all wooden, which is great. So hopefully they will be okay when they're removed and can be used again. It's just a case of bringing this side of the door to match the walls. But I decided to put a pin in it because of the other side. I've seen a few different options on how people decorate the inner side of the door. This has been done in one of the options that I do see quite often, where they've split it out and decorated based off which fourth wall of which room that part of the door would be. There's no right or wrong way on how you do it. Some people choose to just paint the inner side of the door in a light colour. Some people choose to do it this way, where they will split it out and decorate each section based off what room it feeds onto in the house. Some people will go as far as putting skirting board and coving, etc. on there. Some people will just split it with a piece of wood. The issue that I obviously have is just the condition that it's in. So the reason I put a pin in it was because I didn't want to go ahead and redecorate the exterior and then later down the line have to put quite a bit of effort into prepping this side and end up possibly running the risk of ruining the other side. This half of the puffy becomes like a workspace slash leaning space slash snacks and drinks space. I'm just wanting to have a look at just survey the front of the doll's house doors, and it is a current workspace from a previous member of the house. So little old Jax is in the process of building Lightning McQueen. He won't mind. I'm going to finish it so that all the pieces are connected, and then I can just move the full thing out of the way. Right, so the main things we've got going on with my little pointing stick here. So this has just come off of here. I decided to do the same thing as what I did with the basement and remove this and then just paint in the white and then paint this separately to then be stuck back on. It just gives it a neater finish. On this side we've got window frames. I'm not sure what you call these. These are all wood, and we've got the acetate in every window because on the other side, whilst it is horrendous looking, we have the window frames. So I was backwards and forwards whether to remove the windows like I did in the basement. The basement ones were like this side though, where we only had the windows attached on the one side, and on the other side there was no acetate and no window frame. I do have these other windows. They were easily removed. There's only the one to remove off of there. I may see if I can get these off as well. It just means I can do a full renovation and make it look nicer on there. I'm just going to get my new heat gun. I accidentally dropped the plug of my other one. It was only a craft project one. The top pin broke off. It was plastic coated. So I treated myself to a new one, a big guy. I'm fully aware that for this guy, he's not going to need to be as close or as long, or I'm hoping not, We're definitely going to be using the cooler setting. We're just going to take it slow and see where we get to. So hopefully we are going to deconstruct this door. So the bit of the house, what was this now? The living room, I think. So it's green, which I am now finding out was, if I remember rightly, I think the main part of the room had been painted. Might have been painted. Or did I think it had been papered in just plain paper? Anyway, it's a green colour, and then as I've taken the window out, I can actually see the pattern of the wallpaper. So it was a sort of a cream colour with a pink pattern on it. It's quite pretty. I've also found out, I thought originally what it is, and I thought that windows came with a part that slotted in to the recess on one side, then you put your acetate in, then you had a full piece or pieces that slotted into the other side. Then so I was obviously struggling then because for example on the other side of the door we only have one side, same with the basement. I do have spare acetate and I have pieces of wood, so I thought that you would just make wood trim to go around the windows. What I've found from removing these from the inside is that they also have a recess to sit in the gap to then obviously hold better. Oh, that's not being glued either, so great, so that's fine. So that hopefully all of them will come out like that. So they are a full frame. So I'm hoping all of them are going to come off like this in one full piece, and I'm going to be able to sand them and paint them and put them back in. What I'm also going to try to do, I don't think it makes a difference, but just so it's hopefully a bit easier for me, is I'm going to masking tape, if I've got the full lot, so if I've got the outer frame, the acetate and the inner frame, I'm going to masking tape it together and write a little note on the masking tape which slot it's come from. I don't think it matters with the slots because I think they're all cut the same, but just to help me out and make it a bit easier, make something a bit more straightforward at some point. And there we have the house doors. As you saw from the video, the heat gun works, and it was also pulling the paint off, so I've managed to basically get rid of pretty much all of the grey paint off the big side. So this just needs a quick sand back, and then I can already start doing the exterior on that, which is great. This side I did take out what was there. I was going to carry on and take the grey off of this side, but I've just left it for another day because it's so easy. It's not something that's going to be really testing to do. Within seconds it was melting the paint and I was able to pull it off. So from the looks of it, this door has been primed, so when I sand it back I'll see what happens and whether I need to prime it again if it goes back to bare MDF. If it doesn't, then I can just paint straight onto it, which is great. I've removed both of my poking devices. I can then get these painted and get them looking fresh. And all of the window frames and acetate and trims have all been packaged together where I know which ones they were for, and I've written on them which side, and that will help me when putting them back in. So very happy with what has happened there. I was putting this off. So the back, now that we've got the wood out and the little bits of wood, so I also had some bits of wood up here which I'm presuming was some sort of thing for curtains or blinds or something, and then there was also some bits of the paneling that they'd added, the lollipop sticks. There is some parts on the back where, for example here, where a bit more of the excess wood came out than what I was obviously wanting, and this was like this anyway. The main room of the bathroom is the same, so for them it'll just be a case of putting a bit of wood filler in there so that we can build it back up again, but that's easy to do. And then also removing the wallpaper so we can prime and prep the back, because all this back bit just needs a nice sand. And then after that I will see if I can, because I've not even attempted to take this off. I'm just going to see what happens, give it a sand, and then if it sands it back smooth, that's fine, because there's a bit of glue in places, so I just don't know what's going to happen. So I'd rather just start by sanding and see how far we get with that, and then see what's left. There's like masking tape as well on it. I am showcasing Vicky's sliders, Mexican sliders. Got them when we was on honeymoon, and she loves them, and we have them by the back door so they can just be chucked on. I'm not a sliders fan, right, I'm not gonna lie. To me they're like a holiday thing, they're a flip-flop. But for throwing on to walk outside, they're great, and let's be honest, at least they're not Crocs. Not done any of this for a while. Missed him, my trusty sand guy. I think it just wants in places, just needs a light. I'm gonna do what I said with that, I think, because it's took it back but not enough. This I don't think is any better. It's like sticky glue. That's ready to be prepped. Just do a quick one on here. Well, it's done exactly what I thought it would do, and taking it almost back to bare MDF, so it's not been primed properly and sealed, so that's not a problem. I will sort that out. Try and get this off, give it a full sand just with some sandpaper, and then I'm gonna go around with the wood filler and fill it in where is needed. Big. Hey, look at me. Can't remember even doing that. I've wrote big on one and small on other, so I know which door it's for, whether it's for the big door or the small door. Well, just turned it around and I was like, That's my writing, that. Why have I wrote B19? And then I realised it said big. The inside of the front door has just had a little bit of spa treatment, shall we say. A little face mask added, which I'm just going to leave now to completely dry and then come back and sand. Majority of it was just around the windows, which I've sort of left in places because there's going to be windows and doors reattached. The only ones where I've had to do it for definite was ones where, as you can see here, might still need to build that up a little bit more. It had actually pulled away from the wood. There was basically a dip in the wood, so I was worried that the window wouldn't adhere then to the wood and sit in the hole properly. The bathroom has obviously had to have some to the main wall as well, because that's the room that had the little lollipop sticks on it. And then I have still no idea what they applied this with. This one I sanded down. I thought I might be able to smooth it with sanding it down. It did work to a point, but you could still see quite big chunks of paper. That came off, wetting a sponge, dabbing it on, leaving it for a minute, and then going up with the scraper. If I did it again, I would probably be able to get all these little bits off as well, but it's smooth enough that it's not going to come through. But this one, I've no idea what it is that they'd used to. It's definitely different to that. But it had like a weird sort of, it was sort of like a glue, but it was like a silicone, and I was pulling some of it up in like chunky strips, but there is a little bit of down here, a little bit extra damage to the door, so I've just filled that in as well. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and then I can give the full back of the door another sand, which will sand down the wood filler and sand down any other imperfections, and then I can then see if I need to fill any other parts in. The front will need sealing or priming, whichever I look at, before painting. The sander has pretty much taken the paint off, and it's very, if I just rub my hand like that, it's very powdery. So I will need to prep it before I can put the sandstone on. We can officially start painting. Got my sand, my original pot, and then the wick's almost white. So glad I found this paint. Doesn't matter if I use it all because I've got the rest of it in the shed, in the big tub. We just need to mix in the sand to get the right consistency and make it look like some vanilla bean ice cream. There we go. Is that enough? Can we see all the grains? I think we can. Does it go from top to bottom? Yes, it does. all well mixed in. Such an simple and easy thing to do, but it just gives it such a good effect. And it really does look like melted ice cream. So for anybody that hasn't seen me doing or heard me talking about when I did this on the exterior of the house walls, it's a very simple thing to do. It's just literally mixing sand into your paint just to give it a bit of texture. So I've done it just for the exterior walls, just to give it like that look of an exterior rendering, as we call it. You give it a really good mix once you've mixed it in, so that you can basically see all the sand dispersed. It will change the colour of the paint very, very slightly because of the colour of the sand. So it does change the colour slightly, but I don't know if you used a darker paint. I don't know if it would do the same. You'd obviously have to check that out. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it's because I'm using a almost white that it's doing it, and obviously the sand is darker than the paint. But I don't mind because I do like the colour. So then once you've got it mixed, it's just a case of just the same as you would if it was just plain paint. It's just painting it on with a paintbrush, but obviously because you've got that texture and that sand, it's doing it in sections. You might have to, like I keep doing, you might have to keep going back and checking your previous bit, as you might see where you've got bits that have got lumps in them, which means there's a bit more texture in them, a bit more sand. You'll also notice that you've got bits where there's hardly any sand. Don't worry about these bits. We do a full first coat, leave that to dry. Once it's dry, you just have a look and see if there's anywhere where you want to fill it in. You will have some bits where you think, oh, I'm just going to go back over that. You don't want it to be the exact same amount in each section, but if you've got patches where there's hardly any sand, so you would want to go back over. Obviously, thinking of this as a real life house, it's stood, it's getting weathered. The sand, cement, etc. would naturally erode over time. So to have bits missing would make it look natural, which is great, and what you are going to want to go for as well if you're wanting that realistic look. But you don't want it to look, like I keep saying for the other bits as well, you don't want it to look like it's just not being done properly, because you obviously are trying to renovate it to a good standard. Give it a refresh without making it look brand new, like a new build. None of my houses will look like a new build house, or a cardboard house as I call them. I have lived in one, so I am allowed to say that. I like my houses to have texture and character, and a whole load of issues. If you lay your brush, it's not necessarily doing it like this, because it'll gather here. It's just sort of laying it, sweeping it along like that, so that you're getting the paint off both sides, but also so you're doing a nice even sweep to the face of the wood. We'll notice whether you can see the difference in the colour, because these won't have the texture on them. And these are just going to be painted in the almost white. We've got one full coat on the face of the door. I have gone ahead and done the edge of the top and bottom just with one coat, so I'm just going to leave that to dry completely now. It's already starting to dry off, probably because of this beautiful, wonderful heat. So I'm going to leave that, and then when I come back, there's no point me trying to do the other one. I might as well just leave this to dry. then when I come back I can fill the bits in, and then that'll be done. I have left this bit here because, as per the part of the video where I was doing the sanding and the priming, this is where the doorstep sits, and that's actually come off, so I've got that separate that I've sanded and primed. I'm going to do something different with that. So I've not bothered painting it because obviously, one, it's going to be covered up when the doorstep is back in place, and two, because of it being textured paint, I would have to sand it back anyway to get the doorstep to sit properly. Not quite sure what I'm doing with the doorstep yet. I would like to do something as per usual with this build. Let's just do everything as easy as we can so that I can get it done and get it up for sale and move on to my next one. And then I start doing it, and I want to do all sorts of fancy things. The other thing is, obviously, when you add in sand to the paint, if it's a separate batch to what you've used before, it's making sure that obviously you've got the same consistency so it matches, which I do believe I have. I wash my hands, sit down and have a minute. Just doing the exact same but on a smaller surface. Just remember, if it has been a little bit of time between painting, to just give the paint and sand mix a stir again before you use it, just to get the sand mixed back up again. Just needed to do a bit of an appreciation part of the video. This, look at this. This is the inside of the big door. It's almost like it was never there. It's just amazing what a bit of paint can do. Like on the basement where I'd not fully put wood filler in, I wanted it to still have like natural cracks. However, on this one I was a bit iffy as to whether I'd done it in the same way or whether it just looked like big lumps were missing. But then from the sand mix going on top, it's then created a different effect even again. So I'm just going with it at this point. And then once it's, what I've decided is that once it's the house and basement and everything is completely done, I'm going to go back around to each room and do like a finishing touches video at the end. So I can always, and if I'm not 100% happy with something, I can go back around and just update it. However, but I just wanted to appreciation video. But what we are actually here for is these two pieces. So I'm just gonna give them a light sand now they've been primed, and then just give them their first coat of the almost white without the sandstone, and then these bits can we put back on. The door is done. I have painted the sandstone mix on and then also gone over it with the watered down Mod Podge mix to seal it. I've done that on both sides. You can see what I'm talking about now. So I've painted these bits. I've done 2 coats of the almost white, and then I've glued the grey beams back on, and you can see the contrast. This and this are the same colour. They're almost white, but because this has got the sand mixed in, this is where it sort of gives it sort of a creamy look, and I think it's from the sand doing that, because the colour itself is a lot whiter. It looks really nice and fresh. The windows are getting a little refresh today, so I'm just setting up a little painting station. I'm hoping to get all of them, whether I do or not, I'm hoping to get all of them painted and put back in today. I think I can do it because I've given them a little sand back. They weren't in that bad condition and they weren't that badly painted. There were just some parts where it were a bit lumpy, so I've sanded that off. But even the actual in-betweens of the window pane, sometimes it's just needed a light sand, and in all honesty, I could actually just leave them as they are. Just obviously like little pieces like this, it's kind of like general wear and tear, but I could just leave them like that because they are pretty much basically a clear white. But I cannot allow myself to do it. I am not that person. And also, start as you mean to go on, I've painted the windows in the basement. They've been done in the satin wood. So again, I wouldn't be able to allow myself to have them as satin wood and then the rest of the house not the same. I think you'd be able to tell, especially if the light shines on them, it'd have a different sheen to it. So I'm just going to continue and paint all of these windows in this same satin wood paint. Maybe it's different when you're painting on a full-sized thing, but for miniatures, it's not my friend. I really do not like it. It just seems do you know what? The finish on it is gorgeous. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It's got a lovely satin sheen to it. But when you're painting with it, it just feels like it's such a tedious task because it's almost like a really thin paint and you just feel like you need 4 or 5 coats for you to actually cover the thing that you're painting. I'm going to have a go at gluing the window frames back in now. They've been painted with the perfect satin paint. And what I want to do is put them in, and then once they're in, I can see if there's any little imperfections I want to go over. Obviously still keeping it realistic that there would be general wear and tear, but also wanting it to look freshly renovated at the same time. So initially, the one with the framed bit goes on the outside, so I'm going to put them in first, flip it over, get all the acetate cleaned, stick that on, and then do the inside frame, which is obviously the pieces like this that are just a trim. I'm just cleaning the windows. Don't think you're going to be able to see very well. So this is what the windows look like now. So very dusty, splatters of paint, grime, and I'm just cleaning them as you will. So obviously some little flecks of dust and stuff, but I'm just in the process of making them look a little bit better. So I don't think I'm doing too bad of a job because they look a million times better than this one, which is how they all started. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Woman of many talents. I've now turned my hand to miniature window cleaning. So I've actually got a little setup, a desk set up. I don't know how long I'm going to last because I find it sometimes more uncomfortable sat to the desk and to do a lot of my work at the breakfast bar stood up, and then the breakfast bar is up to here. So I think when I get my setup, I think I'm going to need a high adjustable desk so I can obviously move up and down. We're at the final stages of the house doors. So the big door is essentially done apart from the bottom window inside, which will be the living room. This is the small door. This side is completed. Finished this off the other day. So today we are looking at this side. So I'm just going to flip it this way just so that you can see. If you remember, there was this room, I believe, was a nursery or children's room, as it had coloured stars on the paper. But the way they'd created the stars was via like maybe a felt tip or a coloured pen, like the star-shaped pens you could get. The only issue with that was that they'd not sealed the wood properly before doing so. So the felt tips had soaked through the paper and onto the wood. I thought I could get rid of that just by the sanding. I've sanded, primed this part twice, might even be 3 times, and then also painted it with the sandstone effect paint. And it was still, as you can see from the patches, the ink was still coming through. So what I've done after that is, this is more primer. I put 1 coat of primer on, it was still coming through, so I've put a 2nd coat of primer on, and in places a 3rd dab. Left this, so I just need to go back over with the sandstone. Luckily I have got a little bit left, and it's only a little bits that need patching up. The other thing I'm doing today is, this is the side of the door where we didn't have no acetate. So I've purchased acetate. I have had to use a piece of this in the utility room as well, and it's fine. It's got a film on both sides, so obviously you peel it off both sides so it makes it clear, you can see through it, there's no scratches on it. You can cut through it with a pair of scissors, which is great. So all I've done is just obviously marked it up with the craft knife for where I want the cuts to be, done a score line, and then just cut it with the scissors instead of trying to drag it with the craft knife. So I've got my acetate, and then I've got the inside bit for the middle, and then I also found this, which, as you can see, is actually from this room, as it's still got the paper with the ink bits on it. So I didn't realise I'd actually got this, so I can put that back on. Again, I'm leaving the inside of this one because I'm going to do it to match the one on the big door, so that the kitchen and the... So I said that wrong at the beginning. The room on the big door is the kitchen. So that the kitchen, diner and living room sort of merge into one. Like kind of open plan. It's got the same flooring, it's got similar colour schemes and woodwork, so I wanted it to have the same windows as well. And I do need to finalise the door, because I would like to do the door in a different colour, although it is a nice sage green at the minute, so I could just keep it as it is. This is the second lot of acetate that I purchased. Both lots were off Temu. Just a pack, just so that I'd got them. The first lot was very thin and flimsy when it came, and I wasn't convinced that it was the same kind of acetate that we used for these windows. So I had a look and I found this one which was thicker, and it basically goes on the same as the one that comes with the house. It's a very similar thickness and structure to it. It's not, when the other one, when I was doing that, it was like a piece of paper, whereas this one we've got a wobble board going on. So to put the acetate in, I've just been using a dab. Oh, I've just realised this. Oh, I've just realised what I'm... Oh, no, yeah. Whew. Just realised. So I'll slow down the panic. I've just been using a dab of super glue. So for the bigger ones, I've used a dab in each corner and then in the middle as well. For the smaller ones, just literally a dab in each corner. Applying pressure until you can see it's not moving anymore, and then it's dried. It's holding fine, and it's doing its job, so that's great. So obviously I peeled off the other side before I put it down, and then once it's completely dried, then I will peel this side. So I'm going to leave the film on this one. This window's obviously done for now until I sort out the inside, and then I can move on to this next one. In theory, I could have basically, I suppose I could still do it with a piece I've cut off, but I could have just kept this and used it as a template for the next one, but it's fine. And as long as it's covering all the holes, it doesn't matter where it is that you're cutting it to. All that matters is that it's covering all the holes, so there's no draft. I swear the owners of this house, current owners of this house, are thinking this renovation is taking a long, long time. So with this bit, I'm just literally... There's some bits from earlier, get rid of them. I'm literally just lining it up on a straight edge. So I'm just making sure this edge is running on this line, and then lining up my score mark on a line, and just drawing another line with the craft knife from top to bottom just to make a score mark. And then I'm going to do the same again. So just do it so that it's on a line. Obviously it doesn't matter where it is because you're just wanting it just to be straight. And then as long as this bit sits on a line, you can run your ruler down. Oh. And then just cut it with the scissors. You could, if you went over it a few times, you could cut through it with the craft knife, or maybe get to a point where you could snap it off. I don't trust myself with doing things like that, so I'd rather do it. What I did is on one of them, I think it was the utility room one, because I knew I'd be cutting it down, I literally just got the scissors and just did a test cut, and it went straight through, so I knew I could cut them with the scissors. So I'd rather do that than, well, waste the craft knife, to be honest, because you have to obviously change the blades when you're then starting other projects. So same again, obviously peel one side of the film off and get your, it's super glue gel that I'm using, just because it came in a bigger tub and I can hold the sides and squeeze it for it to come out, instead of, because super glue hates me, I most definitely will get my fingers stuck together or stuck to whatever it is that I'm gluing when I'm using it. So try and stay safe. And the glue seems to work better for my own personal use. I have got some ideas for the kitchen and the living room that are very similar to the utility room actually, and that involve some exposed beams maybe and a built-in windowsill. The only reason that I'm doing it is because because this side only came with the outer, it didn't come with any of the inner parts. I've just basically taken the inner part of the kitchen and moved that to the middle of here, so that both the bottom ones then don't have the same architrave, another word that I've learned. So all the other windows will all match, and then it's just the bottom two that'll match each other but won't match the others. But because of what I'm trying to do with that room, where the colour scheme and effect, you know, spreads across both rooms, that's why it kind of makes sense that both of them windows would be the same. I'm going to just flip it round for this. I can leave it like this now actually, because I'm not doing anything else down here. So I'm going to do the acetate, and then I'm going to do the sand mix, and then I'll come back when that's dry. So the acetate is all in, so I'm just going to leave that now. I don't want to touch that too much, just want to leave it to dry. I'm just going to repaint this sandstone mix onto here. It'll only need a light coat because it's already got the sand on it. Hopefully that'll cover with one coat, but then I'll just leave that to dry, and then when I come back the acetate will definitely be dry. This should hopefully be dry and not need another coat, and then I can so I don't forget what I'm doing. I can then put the window architrave what is that? Oh, see, you may have laughed because I've just moved this here, and I'm like, you know, because I've switched the door around, it's to stop myself from thinking that that window is still there and that I'm then going to be trying to fit this. Now, obviously anybody would know that, except following on from that, I thought there was a midge in my sand paint mix because it looked like a midge, but then when I've gone to try and get it out, it's crushed because it's actually sand. Anyway, so I'm just going to go for a light coat. Oh yeah, it's covering lovely jubbly. A very light coat, and then I'm hoping when I come back that I most definitely will not be able to see any of that felt tip. I'm not saying it wasn't, you know, an interesting way to decorate, but yeah, I know a lot of people like to make their own wallpapers and stuff. I've not ventured into that yet. My mum keeps mentioning about the fact that she's got like some papers and stuff that she can print off for me, and I've stayed safe at the minute and just gone with any wallpaper that I've got is either full-sized house wallpaper that I've just ripped a sample off from the shop, or it's actual doll's house wallpaper that I've purchased from a supplier. I've not ventured anywhere outside the box on that sort of design aspect at the minute. I'm slowly getting there with some things and testing the waters, as you'll be well aware from the fact that I'm also doing paneling in the living room. I was petrified to even do it for the media room, and then as soon as I'd done it, I loved it and was really excited to then do it in the study. But the first level of the house is the kitchen, diner and the living room, and I've might have snuck some in the kitchen and there might be some in the living room. So I'm then laughing to myself and thinking, when I go on to the next level, am I going to end up with it in the bedrooms, in the bathroom? Oh, the bathroom. Bathroom, maybe. Before I even get up to the study. So that has actually become something that I really enjoy doing. And not only that, it's not the same. So the paneling that is in the media room, which I loved, is not the same as the paneling that's in another area of the house at the minute. And it will also probably be different to the paneling that is definitely going in the study. Some more lumpy bits of sand there, or midges. Well, so far so good. It doesn't seem like it's coming back through, which is good. Still need to figure out what I'm doing with getting the doors back on, whether I'm going with hinges or magnets or what. There we go. So I'm gonna put the lid back on, and I'm that confident I'm gonna go and rinse my brush out, because I'm going to bring it back over and sit it on the tub just in case, but I'm hoping it's not going to be needed. So I'll leave it there and let that dry, and then I'll come back and do these windows. So I'll be back in about an hour, although for you, a matter of seconds. Finally, the any of the felt tip is coming back through. Stick this one in first since it's a full piece, which is lovely. My wood glue, my favourite glue. Through doing this project, I started with, same with anything really. I started with multiples of everything and not knowing what to use for which thing. And then the more that I've done bits on it, the more that my favourite teammates start reoccurring. So wood glue, favourite glue. Wood glue and Mod Podge are basically what I would use the most of. I've only used super glue for the acetate, which I would still continue to do, and for maybe sticking like little things. Maybe if you wanted to stick like, I don't know, hooks up or something like that. Maybe a bit of super glue will do it. The craft glue I used on the garden, would never do that again. It was super sticky and really hard to work with. For the courtyard, I used wood glue. It's difficult to spread on a bigger surface. I think what I need to do is I need to find a big brush that I just keep as a glue brush, because I am still using either small brushes, cocktail sticks, or a good old-fashioned glue spreader like what you use in primary school. Right, this way. I knew I would need this. Where is it? The sand, because the sandstone is obviously a thick mixture, what I've found around the windows is that sometimes where it's just obviously gone over, I've had to scrape it back so that I can get the window to sit in. It's not an issue. There we go. Oh, a real life issue there. Did anybody before I put it down realise that I'd not taken the film out? Luckily, I'm still at the point where I've got a bit of time with the wood glue, because wood glue does start drying. It will start bonding quite quickly. I'm just going to use this tile as usual. Just put that on there. And the reason I keep picking these up is because obviously they've got quite a lot of liquid in them and they're heavy because they're a glass bottle. They're obviously displayed. We've got a drinks cabinet. We've got, you know, for when we do have a drink. And they've got a bit of weight and pressure to them, so that's why I keep using them. Obviously not promote. This is a new room that I've tried. It's very nice. My friend brought it me back. They brought it me back off holiday when we'd looked after their dog. I'm just taking some of this off because I've got a feeling that, yeah, there's quite a few bits there that this one's going to do the same, although I am having to obviously build this window, so it might have been different. It might have been even more awkward. I'll not forget this one. That is the remaining windows in. So now I just need to decide on what I'm doing for basically the entire of the bottom row, so the door and the two windows at the side. But otherwise, that is the door. Small door done. What I've done is wrote on the finishing touches list to come back to have a look if any touching up needs doing. So like I can see some spots where I've missed, and I think like the underneathy bit, like there's a speck there that's missing and where it's just been knocked. But I thought there's no point trying to sort it out now before it goes in, because I'm just still manhandling it. So just do what I can, get it in, and then once it's in I can then see if you can see it or not, and obviously if you can, then I'll go back around in as part of the finishing touches. So thank you very much for watching yet another one of my videos. I hope you're all doing okay and enjoying. And if you're not already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you're liking it, drop me a comment. I love it when people comment and either give me tips or just say if they're doing something similar, and I'll always reply to you. So if you want to have a little chat, drop a comment. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye!